Welcome back. We're still reading Stargirl, and we just finished with Leo trying to figure out who he needs attention from more, from his friends and his peers at school or from Stargirl. And he's just wishing something would happen where Stargirl would either be like everybody else and everybody would decide that they can like her, or, you know what, everybody else would stop caring what Stargirl's doing and that they'd just, stop the shunning. But Stargirl's about to do something that makes that impossible. So here we go. Miss Adair reading Stargirl. Now we're at chapter 24. Roadrunner. No one said the word to me directly, but I kept hearing it since I arrived to school one day, several days after the kiss on the sidewalk. It seemed more dropped behind than spoken, so that I kept walking into it. Roadrunner. Was there something on the plywood Roadrunner that I should read? I had study hall coming up, third period. I'd look into it then. In the meantime, I had second period Spanish, and as I headed for my seat, I looked out the window, which faced the courtyard. There was something written on the Roadrunner, all right, but I wouldn't have to go outside to read it. I could have read it from here. I could have read it from a low-flying airplane. White paper, no, it was a bed sheet, covered the whole bird, and painted on the sheet in broad red brushstrokes was a Valentine's heart, enclosing the words, Stargirl loves Leo. My first impulse was to drag the Spanish teacher to the window and say, "Look, she loves me." My second impulse was to run outside and to rip away the sign. Until now, I had never been the target of her public extravagance. I felt a sudden strange kinship with Hilary Kimball. I understood why she had commanded Stargirl not to sing to her. I felt spotlighted on a bare stage. I couldn't concentrate on my schoolwork or anything else. I was a mess. At lunch that day, I was afraid to look at her. I counted one blessing. I had not yet worked up the nerve to sit with her each day. I kept stoking my conversation with Kevin. I felt her presence, her eyes, 3 tables to my left. I knew she was sitting there with Dory Dilson, the only friend who had not deserted her. I felt the faint tug of her gaze on the back of my neck. Ignoring my wishes, my head turned on its own, and there she was, smiling, to beat the band, waving grandly, and horrors, blowing me a kiss. I snapped my head back and dragged Kevin out of the lunchroom. When I finally dared to look again at the courtyard, I found that someone had torn the sign away. Thumbtacks at the corners pinned 4 white scraps of bedsheet to the plywood. I managed to avoid her by taking different routes between classes, but she found me after school and came shouting after me as I tried to slink away. "Leo! Leo!" She ran up to me, breathless, bursting, her eyes sparkling in the sun. "Did you see it?" I nodded, and I kept walking. "Well," she was hopping beside me, punching my shoulder. "What'd you think?" What could I say? I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I just shrugged. "Wow, that impressed, huh?" She was mocking me. She reached into her bag and pulled out her rat. "Maybe he's shy, Cinnamon. Maybe he'll tell you how thrilled he was to see the sign." She set him on my shoulder. I yelped. I swept the rat off and sent him flying to the ground. She scooped him up and stroked him, all the while staring at me dumbstruck. I could not face her. I turned and walked on alone. She called, "I guess you don't want to hear me practice my speech, huh?" I did not answer, and I did not look back. The next day I faced the full impact of the sign. I thought I had truly suffered from the spillover of Stargirl's shunning, but that was nothing now that the full torrent was turned on me. Of course, Kevin thankfully talked to me. So did a few other friends, but the rest was silence. A second desert imposed upon the one I already lived in, where high was as rare as rain. I came to the courtyard in the morning before the bell, and all I saw were the backs of heads. People shouldered past me, calling others. Doors closed in my face. There was laughter, there was fun, but it skipped over me like a flat stone on water. One morning I was running a teacher's errand, and I saw someone named Renshaw walking across the courtyard. I barely knew that kid, but we were the only two in the courtyard at that moment, and I had to, so to speak, touch the stove that I knew was hot. "Renshaw!" I called out. There was no other voice but mine. "Renshaw!" He never turned, never wavered, never slowed down. He kept walking away from me. Opened a door, and he was gone. So what? I kept telling myself. What do you care? You never speak to each other. Who's Renshaw to you? But I did care. I couldn't help myself from caring. At that moment, there was nothing more that I wanted in the world from even a nod from Renshaw. I prayed that the door would burst open and he would be there saying, "Hey, sorry, Borlock, I wasn't listening. What'd you want?" But the door stayed closed, and I knew what it felt like to be invisible. "I'm invisible," I said to Kevin at lunch. "Nobody hears me, nobody sees me. I'm the friggin' invisible man." Kevin just looked at his lunch and wagged his head. "How long is it going to go on?" I demanded. He shrugged. "What did I do?" My voice was louder than I intended. He chewed, and he stared. At last he said, "You know what you did." I stared at him like he was crazy. I badgered him some more, but of course he was perfectly right. I knew exactly what I had done. I had linked myself to an unpopular person. That was my crime. All right, guys, that's the end of chapter 24. And it's got to be feeling very tough and just almost brutal for Leo, that he wants so badly to be acknowledged and, just befriended by his peers, but yet he's in love with Stargirl and he's just torn. So, tough spot for Leo to be in, and he's going to have to make a choice.